What is going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the Red Type Politics channel. Today I'm going to be doing my 2024 presidential election prediction for the late September to early October model that I have now. This one I have kind of changed a little bit. This one is probably going to shock a lot of my viewers. As you guys probably know, I've had Trump ahead in a lot of my predictions by quite a substantial margin. And I think you guys are going to be quite surprised with what I have today. So let's get started. So now I'm going to talk about the safe states for both candidates. And yeah, let's get into it. So, very normal. They're probably not going to see a lot of changes here. But you might later. So just be prepared for that. It is very simple. Most of the things here are not going to be shocks to a lot of my viewers. I become a little bit more, better with my model, just because I believe now at this point, most of this is going to be in, 100%. But yeah, so right now, with all the safe states for both candidates, I have Trump at 128 electoral votes, and Kamala Harris at 191. So for the likely states, is Texas, Florida, Ohio, Alaska, Maine's second, and that should be it. You're probably seeing a major change that I do not have Florida as a safe. Same thing for Ohio, Alaska, and Maine second. The reason why I put that is just because of like logistics stuff. Polls that have come out, a lot of these states show it as a little bit closer a race. Still a good win for Trump, but still a state that is a little bit closer than I had intended. Now for Kamala Harris, not really big surprises, which is Minnesota, New Mexico, New Hampshire, Virginia, and Nebraska second, and also Maine at large. These I've had a little bit closer in some of my models. I know I've had, when Biden was in the race, some of these states I had within a tilt margin of both sides. I think even I had one of them flipping. Now, just due to like logistics and polls that have definitely come out of a lot of these states, especially because the running mate of Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, is the governor of Minnesota. I don't think Trump's going to win it if they have that incumbency help within the state. And also, just other things, it is Minnesota. The last time I voted for a Republican was 1972. So I don't think Trump is going to get that. It would be a really shocker if Trump won this state by the polls, what is going on. Yes, it's a little bit closer than 2020. Yes, 2020 was off. But I don't think there's going to be that big of a polling error as much as 2020 was. Same thing said for New Hampshire and Maine at large. Now down to the lean states. This one is interesting. I have Georgia as the only lean state. Georgia, and I'll give you North Carolina. You know, I'll give North Carolina just barely lean. That one's going to be a little closer than I intended. Just polls are coming out that have as a little bit closer of a race, around a 1-point margin, 1.5-point margin. Georgia is sustained. I have that around a 2-point margin for Trump. It's just depending on the mail-in ballot stuff that is coming in. A lot of these states, turnout is down. So that one is definitely interesting. But for the lean states for the Democrats, there is none. It comes down to these 5 states within a tilt margin. That means it's within 1%. You haven't seen this in my channel's history in a while. Usually I had one of the Rust Belt states being lean. That is no longer happening. You're probably seeing that I'm becoming much more firm on my prediction. So for the tilt states for Trump, and I'll get down to probably the Rust Belt. I'll leave that one there. It is Nevada. Nevada is the only state in the western side that is tilt for Trump. Then for Arizona, it is just hard because I'm seeing Maricopa County stuff come out. Yes, the polls have it as around a 6. I know there was one poll that had it as around +6 for Trump. But I don't think that's going to happen. It is going to be closer. It can be Trump. But just data that I'm seeing, I think Kamala's doing a little better in the Sun Belt than she was before. I'm going to give this race to Kamala by a tilt margin. Same thing as Nevada. They're going to vote to around the same margin. I have Nevada going to Trump by like 0.7. This one is going to be like 0.5, 0.4, probably around the same margin as 2020. I think it might sustain just because you're going to see a lot of these areas go red that they didn't in 2020, but then you're also going to see these major areas in Maricopa go blue than they were red in 2020 as well. So really you're going to see that sustain. It depends where they come out of. Really, yes, this race can be tilt. It can be tilt for the Republicans. But for right now, that's what I have this race as. Now it all comes down to the Rust Belt. The Rust Belt, I have seen these polls have been super close. And I've stressed this enough. The polls are not always right. I'm going off of what I believe in the state of the race is going to be now. Yes, it can change in October. That's when I'll probably make my final prediction, and I'll just back it up. But for right now, this is what I believe it's going to be. So we're going to start going from west to east. So I'll start out with Wisconsin. Wisconsin data is showing that turnout is a lot down. Democrats need turnout to be up. The issue for Republicans is that Kamala Harris is doing a little better with this white working class voters inside of Wisconsin, especially due to Tim Walz being the governor of Minnesota. I do think it will somewhat influence this area along the border of Minnesota and Iowa, which makes me believe that this state is going to be a tilt for Kamala. This is the first time I've had it. Probably a big shift from the last time that I had it. This state is going to be really close. I had this around a 0.2 margin for Kamala Harris, around the same margin as 2020. Yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. Minnesota, that one I have sustained as a tilt margin for Kamala. That one is going to be around a 0.5 margin. Just because there's not a lot of Arab vote to make up the help that Donald Trump needs. Turnout is in fact down all across the board. That doesn't help Democrats. But if you're looking at logistical things that are coming out of these polls, I do believe that Kamala Harris is doing a little better than she did before. Then again, these races could all be Republican. They can. But for right now, I don't believe they are. Which makes me believe that these two states will be Democrat. It comes down to Pennsylvania. As you can see, the map is really close. Right now, 257 for Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, 262. Pennsylvania is a very interesting state. Right now, I think Kamala Harris is ahead in the polls narrowly. I think by 0.8 the last time I checked. I could be wrong by this time making this video. But just due to data, and of course the shooting was here in Butler, Pennsylvania, Trump putting a lot of time and effort into the state, I think Donald Trump will win the state narrowly. I have this around a 0.6 margin for Donald Trump. Then again, like I said before, this thing can go to Kamala Harris and she wins. But for right now, my data is indicating that Donald Trump is going to win the state. But yeah, I mean, some things you probably have seen, and I'll point them out. I have flipped Wisconsin. I have flipped Arizona. I have flipped those two states for for Kamala Harris. That is probably a very interesting change to my prediction. Yes, a lot of these states can vary. Like, I can definitely see, this is probably surprising, Pennsylvania going for Kamala Harris. I can definitely see Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania going for Donald Trump. They can all go as a pair. But for right now, this is what I believe is going to go on. So the final prediction for my late September model is 276 electoral votes for Donald Trump, 262 electoral votes for Kamala Harris. Donald Trump narrowly wins the election by picking up states that he didn't have in 2020, Georgia, Nevada, Pennsylvania, with Kamala Harris sustaining Arizona, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Yeah, this is a very interesting map. I'll probably be making a CNN election night soon, just because those have been doing pretty well. And I just want to show people that I can do something different with my channel. It doesn't have to always be predictions. I can do current news. I can do whatever you guys want. I'm just saying, mostly, the CNN election nights are doing pretty well. And I'm actually enjoying doing them. I think everybody, you're probably seeing some of my friends, Sammy Talks Politics, Tester, and a bunch of others doing them. And they do pretty well. So I'm probably going to see doing a bunch of them soon. But yeah, I mean, this was a very interesting map. I hope you guys like it. Comment, like, and subscribe to the channel if you guys are liking it and if you guys are new. And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.